Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Bitcoin has hit another new all-time high today, $123,548 as I record this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. You might be wondering, as far as it pertains to XRP, given that Bitcoin actually is moving to the upside and it is almost certainly going to enter price discovery further and go on that final parabolic stretch, given that's the case, as it pertains to XRP, because the entire asset class moves in tandem, are we thinking too big for XRP or perhaps not big enough? Now, this is an XRP-centric channel. I admit that I'm biased, but I always do my best to be very intellectually honest, including when it comes to XRP, including potential negative this or that as it pertains to the XRP ecosystem, including price action. But I swear to you on my freaking life, it is almost impossible to find chart analysts of any repute who are stating that XRP is not going to do well. And the few instances where I can find of that, it's super short-term price action where they're not denying that big picture. It still rips faces off and just melts upward, getting to double-digit price action, that type of stuff. So the most negative stuff I can find typically is very short-term. So I'm going to try, though. I'm going to share with you the most negative perspective that I could find today. And it's not even actually negative, even though people are taking it like that. Like, I'm serious. Like, there are a lot of XRP holders who are very upset with this chart analyst. He's an XRP bull, and it's most of the crypto that he holds. And still, there apparently are some people who are getting a bit pissed off here. But it's not even actually negative. Look, I am never afraid to share the most negative perspective I can possibly find on this channel. Which is actually what I'm doing here. But I wish it was something that's truly negative. This is the best I could find for you folks. So if you want to hear the worst there is, this is the video. But again, I'm letting you know, in full disclosure at the outset, it's not even negative. It really isn't. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 7:54 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. XRP is $3.27, the exact same price that it was when I recorded my very last video, but Bitcoin ripped a little bit to the upside. Don't mind seeing that, up over 3% over the last 24 hours. Reaching as high as $124,169.38, according to Live Coin Watch. New all-time high, folks. I'm telling you, this thing is not done. Now, time-wise, yes, we are almost at the end of this cycle if history is to rhyme with itself. I know that there are reputable analysts, some anyway. Definitely not a majority. There are some who think that this is going to persist into some point in 2026. If they're right, I will give all credit where it's due. That is minority opinion right here. In all likelihood, if this thing is, again, if it's going to keep rhyming with itself cycle-wise, we're about done here. Which means that the most life-changing fun part of this all is about to kick off. And the fact that Bitcoin's hit what it has here, well, that bodes well for that, if that's what you want, which, I mean, it's what I want, frankly. I'm ready for this thing to go. I want my third euphoric situation in crypto, just the third euphoric situation in crypto right now, because this is the moment where, I mean, frankly, I think about everything we've been through, but even if you set that aside, my God, the last half a decade has been ridiculous. But even setting that aside, I'll just speak for myself personally here. The amount of time I've been accumulating, it's way longer than the typical crypto holder. And it's kind of funny to think that because I've been here a little over 7.5 years. That's just like a ridiculous amount of time to have never cashed out to USD in crypto. That is almost unheard of, but I swear to God, I've never cashed out to USD. I've just been holding. I intentionally did the round trip thing, and I can talk about that more in a separate video, but I'm ready. This would be the time for it to come. And the S&P 500, not surprisingly, actually, hit yet another new all-time high today. And of course, this was set off yesterday because of the great CPI news, or at least that's how the market took it anyway. We can talk more about that also in a separate video, but it's outside the scope of what I really want to delve into here. But down below expectations. So yeah, started ripping. Crypto's going in tandem. Not terribly surprising. So I shared this post just a couple hours or so ago. Bitcoin, new all-time high, altcoin showing strength higher. And that was right after Bitcoin hit the new all-time high today, a little over $123,000. I'm telling you, like, I don't know where it's going to peak. Maybe the guys that are saying 150,000 are right, maybe 180, who knows? Or the more conservative guys, like the blockchain backer who says maybe 130, 135. I don't know who's right, but in the end, it doesn't matter for what it means for altcoins. Not directional anyway. Yes, of course, the higher Bitcoin goes, the more money flows into alts. But directionally, I'm saying it doesn't matter because we get alt season regardless. We get XRP ripping faces off, if it doesn't melt them first. We get that regardless here. And there was this post from the blockchain backer several hours ago, and he wrote here, Russell 2000 breaks fibs, and you freaking love to see that. That's, of course, small cap stocks. When that happens, that means that investors, they're going further out the risk curve. When that happens with the Russell 2000, that there's a much greater appetite for what's happening in crypto. So you go further out the risk curve in crypto as well. So that's fantastic. Now, of course, at the time this is happening, yes, the last couple days in particular, yes, alts have been running for sure. Like Bitcoin dominance has been down. Before this most recent run, it was 59.5%, something like that. So presumably it's a little bit higher. Like I didn't check it right before recording this video, but I say that because Bitcoin went up a bit, and I don't see like altcoins have melted faces even further than they already have, which is why I say that. But Bitcoin kicked off here, as the blockchain backer noted, 5:42 p.m. Central. And he wrote, and like magic, Bitcoin new all-time high. Isn't it funny, the confluence here? And that's obviously what he's pointing out here. There are so many things happening like you would want and hope. That's redundant. Want and expect, based on historic precedent. It's true. Like everything is so perfectly positioned. Like the odds that all this confluence is what it is, and then we just get nothing, it's so close to zero, like I just don't even, I do not take it seriously. Melting faces, yes, that's what's next. Here's a post from chart analyst Tech Dev. He shared this with his 543,700 followers on X. And he simply wrote, altcoins, chart needs no commentary. Well, it may need no commentary, but it could use a label here, Tech Dev. I'm a huge fan of this guy, but my one pet peeve about him is he does not sufficiently label his charts here. He didn't even bother to put that this is total 2. And I'm assuming that it is right here. It's either that or total 3, almost certainly. I get that. So it would just be, the top 125 coins by market cap, excluding Bitcoin, of course. But look, either way, this chart's going back several years, and he's showing that this wedge here, breaking out. It already has, and what happens next. Once you get out of that, and it almost always happens before you get to the apex, of course, that would be the case here, rocket to the upside. You'll love to see it. So what's the worst that we could say about XRP? Well, that comes from none other than Charting Guy, who, by the way, I said it at the outset, he is an XRP bull. In fact, he's one of the many analysts that I follow who last year accurately called XRP breaking out of a nearly 7-year-long symmetrical triangle. He was right about that, and he's remained his bullish stance on a higher time frame, despite what I'm about to share with you. But like I told you, I'm trying to find the negative stuff. It's just impossible. It's just about, this is the closest I can get to it. And in this case, there actually are people who are upset with him, enough that he's noticing some negativity here and responding on X. So, that says something, I guess, to some degree. But this is the worst I can find. An XRP bull, this is the worst I can find. Okay. And look, if you guys can find that one unicorn out there who is a reputable chart analyst and insists that on a higher time frame, XRP just isn't going to do well, please tell me. I swear on my life, I will be happy to share it, and I'll be happy to credit you. If it's out there, I can't find it, folks. Just present it to me on a silver platter, and I promise I will be happy to do that. So here's what he wrote. This is Charting Guy, literally yesterday. He says, late last year and early this year, it looked like XRP was on track to flip Ethereum in market cap. I believe that is no longer the case. And folks, I will just pause to note here that there is historic precedent for XRP, taking out ETH's number 2 spot in market cap. That's happened several times in history, including 2017 and 2018. It was short-lived each time, but it's happened, so it wouldn't be crazy to think that it could occur here. He thought that was going to happen in the past, now no longer thinks so. And so he says, I re-entered Ethereum in April near the lows, and it has it has shown immense strength since, and is now just 10% away from all-time high. XRP probably has a 2.5x max left. And even if that happens, its market cap won't even be at what ETH's is at now. Don't listen to the Moon Boys. Own both, chill, and be fine with everything playing out how it does. And I will pause and note, I do own both. I've been holding both since 2017, in fact. Actually, Ethereum is the very first cryptocurrency I ever purchased. I bought ETH, I bought Litecoin, and then I bought Bitcoin in that order, November 10th, 2017, because that's all that was on Coinbase, and that's the only exchange access that I had at the time. And then the first coin that I bought that wasn't on Coinbase was XRP literally 1 week later after I'd done some research. Rest is history, obviously. But yeah, I've been holding. So like, I'm not a maxi. Yes, I have a bias. You know, we're all entitled to our opinions. And yes, XRP is my favorite coin. It's my largest individual crypto holding. But no maxi here, and I want everything to do well. And I made it very clear, like I firmly believe the entire asset class is just going to keep expanding outwards. And at least to this point, Ethereum's a part of that. And so then he writes here also, Ethereum outperformance and strength was overdue, and I timed it perfectly here for you all if you paid attention. So that's an interesting perspective, and some found it to be a bit provocative. What do you mean XRP not going to take that number 2 spot in terms of market cap? Well, personally, I still think it could. I'm not making a prediction. Like I just admit I don't know if that's going to happen, but the idea of it either getting there or getting pretty damn close, not wild. And so it makes a ton of sense to be optimistic XRP can get way higher. But check this out. There are a few more comments here. So chart analyst XR Punky responded to that, and he said, so you don't see a $20-ish XRP? And Charting Guy said, unlikely this cycle, in my opinion. So he's not even ruling it out. Like, even Charting Guy, the most negative sentiment I could find, and that, yes, again, XRP Bull here, he is, even he is acknowledging it's at least possible. He does not think that's probable. He doesn't think that's going to occur. But even the most bearish guy that I can find today is like, okay. So he acknowledging it could go to 20 at least, right? Or else he would have worded things differently here. And then there's also this. He said here, I actually think $10 XRP this cycle will be like $100,000 Bitcoin last cycle. Barely out of reach and just a target to keep people bag holding. I think we top at $8. Okay, I can only speak for myself here, of course. If we reach $8 here, if we're presented with that price action, I personally will be thrilled. Absolutely. But I've made it clear, like I intend to scale out of my position between $5 to $8. Ideally selling most of my XRP, if not all of it, between $7 to $8 range. So if he's right, I personally will be very thrilled. I know that's lower than what many of you listening want, but you know, it's all personal perspective, opinion, whatever. And that's fine. If you want a higher price, you're expecting a higher price. Reasonable, totally reasonable, of course. But, and, you know, look, and I reserve the right to hold back. Like I said, you know, 5, 10, 15% on the high end, you know, for a moonshot. Maybe that means XRP goes to $15, $20. I might do that. I might hold a little bit. There's too many moving parts for me to say for sure if I'm going to do that. But if I have pulled in enough profit by the time we're in that type of situation, yeah, I might. And I talked about that before. But, you know, $8, that's in the realm of what the blockchain backer's talking about. You know, he keeps saying $8, $9, $10, a little over $10 maybe. These are the most conservative price predictions that are out there. Just about anyway. And maybe they're right. And if they are, absolutely credit where it's due. That's about the lowest I could possibly see it to where the cycle's over and I'm like, I'm happy with how things went. Now, XRP bottomed at 28 cents. So if you're thinking $8 isn't enough, okay, that's subjective, that's fine. I'm just telling you to go from 28 cents to $8. That's freaking good. That's actually absolutely fantastic. But I acknowledge it could be even more ridiculous than that. Like, this is crypto, stuff happens, totally got it. So if you're one of those people rooting for that, well, not only does it make sense, you know, what you hope and maybe expect to happen, that could happen. That's absolutely possible here. He also said this. So he said, oh no, he was asked here, what do you think Ethereum has if XRP is 2.5x? So Charting Guy, like I read in that post, his original post, he said, you know, XRP from this point may be a 2.5x. So what does that mean for Ethereum? And Charting Guy here said they probably perform the same from here overall. Now that And look, I'm not a chart guy. I'm highly skeptical of that. I'm wildly skeptical of that. 2.5x? The same? Okay, so keep this in mind. Historically, so think about the last couple market cycles, XRP, as I've highlighted an untold number of times, it has a major pump, moves sideways half a year, then has a second major pump. That's what's happened to this point. You know, a little over half a year, but still, we're splitting hairs there. Yeah, we're at the last pump now. It started moving. You could argue that, certainly. And if history is to rhyme with itself, I'm just telling you, this second pump is going to be way more intense than the first pump. From a dollar perspective, way, way, way more intense. So if that's the case, and Ethereum and XRP are going to perform the same, talk about underperformance. I'm doubtful that, I mean, if Ethereum underperforms, then, well, even that would be a scenario where XRP can still rip comparatively. But that would make sense from a historic precedent that XRP would still go wild. That's why, like, even the analysts who are calling for, like, close to, like, he said here, 2.5-fold increase, even a 3-fold increase, anywhere around there, that's substantially greater than the first rip to the upside. And again, I'm talking about in terms of the dollar, not percentage gains. But that's what I think we likely have in store for us, because why would it be any different at the most crazy euphoric part of the entire cycle here? What, XRP performs less impressively after it's been artificially suppressed for all these years? That I have a hard time believing. I really do. So we'll see here. He could be right, and I acknowledge this. I've been following Charting Guy for, actually, I don't know how long now, a year and a half, maybe a little bit more than that. It could be 2 years, I'm not sure. But he's been pretty level-headed, good accuracy, very good accuracy rating here, actually. He just happens to have a conservative perspective in terms of XRP price expectations, compared to most analysts. Sometimes the minority opinion is correct, but it is a minority opinion. Like that is not what most reputable chart analysts think. So we're going to see. What I find typically is that, it's just like if you look at a bell curve, you got extremes on both ends and chop off the tails there, and the truth is somewhere in between. Usually, anyway. I mean, look, like I said, sometimes the minority point of view can be correct, but I'm not counting on that. I think the truth is likely to be somewhere in between. So not the highest, not the lowest. We'll see here. But he's been getting crap about this. I'll tell you that. Here's somebody named Bryant wrote to him and said, "You must not know what real world utility is, but how could you never seen it before?" And Charting Guy wrote, "You must not know that utility in crypto doesn't mean shit currently." They're both wrong, folks. They're both wrong. This Bryant guy, so nothing against him, of course. Nothing against either of them. I'm a fan of Charting Guy anyway. Bryant could not be more incorrect. And it's just like, this is a common mistake that people make. Like, expecting that whatever is going to unfold here, including at the tail end of the cycle, is driven by utility could not be further from the truth, folks. He's absolutely wrong. I could not be more confident of that. Utility is what has kept XRP in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire freaking existence. That's true. It is one of only 3 coins in existence that has never fallen out of the top 10 coins by market cap. That's not a fluke. That's because people like me and people like you, we recognize utility does matter. It's people like me and you that have kept XRP up there in that top 10 coin range by market cap. We have done that because we do value that. That is not the reason that coins run in euphoria. In euphoria, it's, I don't know what that is, but it's a big green candle. Here's my money. That's actually what happens. So yes, utility matters here. When he says you must not know utility in crypto doesn't mean shit currently. Bullshit. I disagree with that too. Charting Guy is also wrong. Absolutely it is. Because if he were right and crypto doesn't mean anything, then because reasons, Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP, well, they've always been in the top 10 coins by market. It doesn't mean anything? Then what am I doing here? Am I the only human that holds XRP that thinks utility matters and everybody else is just buying it because it's a random thing they're aware exists? Like, come on. So I think they're both wrong. To me, it seems very obvious. But people have been getting mad at Charting Guy as a result of this. And I think that's cute. So here's what he wrote. This is the most recent post last night from Charting Guy. He says, "So many XRP Maxis coming for my head over this." And he had reposted what I just shared with you. I got to pause here already because XRP Maxis don't exist. Okay, fine. There's like one frolicking out in the wilderness somewhere, perhaps in a green-bladed patch of grass. Show me if you can find this individual. I found, like, I think, honestly, I might have seen one, maybe two self-proclaimed XRP maximalists, whereas there are, like, an untold number, like, ridiculous quantity of Bitcoin maximalists. We don't exist. Like, they don't exist, because the people in the XRP community, like, we in the XRP community, we're just here because we think that this is, honestly, an incredible investment opportunity. Like, at its core, like, that's it. That's why I'm here. I'm willing to bet that's why you're here. You're not some sort of ideologically driven maximalist that has turned a cryptocurrency into a religion, but that's what a lot of the Bitcoiners have done effectively. So I disagree with the Maxi statement. But then he says, for XRP to hit Ethereum's current market cap, it would have to be $9.30. And that's if Ethereum stops here and does nothing while XRP does a 3x. Rather unlikely in my opinion. P.S. XRP is literally 66% of my portfolio, while ETH is 4%, so chill, lol. So I like that charting guy's being intellectually honest. He's saying something that would be against what will be best for him, so he's obviously just saying what he genuinely thinks, and it has pissed some people off. I appreciate that he's saying what he thinks, you know? I don't need crazy moonshot nonsense perspective from you if that's not what you think is going to happen. Although it's subjective as to what moonshot is, because even if he's right at $8, to me, that's just like, oh, so life-changing. So I'd be thrilled with $8, to be honest with you. But this idea, you know, XRP, well, he doesn't think it's going to happen because Ethereum, my God, look at where it's at already in market cap. And at the same market cap, XRP would already have to be $9.30. That's above where he thinks it's likely to go. And then Ethereum, what, you think it's going to stop here? Well, that's a good point. I don't think Ethereum's going to stop here. I don't think that's probable at all. That's why I'm saying. This is exactly why I'm saying. And this is why Credible Crypto and Crypto Insight UK and so many analysts think that XRP is likely to peak between $20 to $30. So you're right. You're right, charting guy. If XRP hits ETH's market cap, $9.30, that's what it would take to match it now. And ETH's running, and it's going to keep running. But why can't XRP close the gap? Have you seen the XRP ETH chart? Look at that trading pair. It's fallen down in recent months, which I predicted, because that was not a hard thing to predict. I think it's going to close the gap, and XRP is going to continue, in all likelihood, to make Ethereum its tiny little baby back bitch. That's what I expect. I think that by a lot is the most probable. So we'll see. Either way, this is a totally respectable opinion that he has here. There's nothing wrong with this opinion whatsoever. The fact that it upset anybody, I find it silly, frankly. It's just a guy's opinion. He's being intellectually honest here. And he could be right. Like, I acknowledge he absolutely could be right. I hope he's not. I mean, he hopes he's not, I bet. But I'm optimistic. If the market's going to go high enough that, say, Ethereum goes to like $10,000, which is only a 2x from its previous all-time high, I'm telling you, folks, it's not crazy to think that XRP could creep up against it. And maybe XRP doesn't hit number 2 in market cap for even a brief moment this cycle. Fine, that's possible. I won't be surprised if it does, but if it doesn't, okay. It could still get close, though. And so that's why, even if you're talking $15 XRP, I don't know if it'll hit, but it is not crazy here. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. Opinion, that's how you actually say that. But I'll wrap up the video by stating, again, with the batch of reputable analysts that I regularly follow, there are extremes in terms of low end of expectations for XRP price peak this cycle versus the high end, and I doubt that either of them are correct. Usually the truth is somewhere in between. It could be towards the lower end still, sure, but the idea that it's literally $8 or it's literally $40, doubt it. Could happen, either way. Doubt it. I gotta insist, I just do not think that we're going to be disappointed. By the time the cycle's over, I really just don't think we're going to be disappointed. So I'll stop yapping here. That's everything I think on the matter. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section below. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.